Meyer, co-founder of Chip, CEO, and what we want to talk about today is custom capabilities, which is a bit of an advanced feature. So I would love to just popcorn around the room because we have a smaller group to hear, how you're using anything like custom capabilities. And if the answer is you have no idea what it is or how you use it, that's totally fine too. So Nix, you mentioned it previously, but we'll start with you if you want to tell us, how you're thinking about custom capabilities, and then we'll hit over to Ricardo and Kate. So tell us how you're kind of thinking about it.
I must be honest, I'll admit I am a newbie. So I did have to collaborate with Claude a little bit to be like, walk me through the get and the post function and exactly what was needed. But I'm going to use it for my hiring. Like it's very labor intensive to create Boolean search strings. And yeah, I'm just, that's so powerful for me because I've done it with GPTs, but this is different because now I've also got the API and I can connect it to Zapier so I can automate some stuff or get some more flow. Yeah, so that'll change my day.
Good. No, that's great. And how about you, Ricardo? I know you're building lots of fun things. So how are you thinking about using the custom capabilities?
Yeah, it improves the possibilities a lot because previously I was trying to integrate Make to collect the data, but then I need to make sure that the message is always in the same format and it collects the data right and transform it to JSON and Make, and that's a lot of steps and takes a lot of work. And now I can just have it export the JSON, call it to another API, and transform the data. And why it's important for me, at least for the hackathon, is I'm building a teacher's AI assistant for elementary school, and I want to export results of every worksheet. And to export the results, I now just need one more step to connect it to Google Sheets and have it export in the right document and collect the data. And I had a hard time getting it to work, but I figured out that if I just remove all my instructions, it does what I want. But I told to Serge I will send a Loom so Hunter can check out what's happening.
Yeah, we give you early access, knowing that it might be buggy, but that's great. Well, welcome, Aaron.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Yeah, welcome, Aaron and Biggie and Noah and Florian. Go ahead in the chat if you just jumped in. Tell us where you're calling in from, and you can give us a GIF that represents either your town or how you're feeling. We're just doing quick intros on how people are thinking about using custom capabilities, so you get some ideas. So, Kate, tell me a little bit about your background with AI and how you might think about something like this, or if the answer is you're learning about it, that's great too.
Well, I've got this idea that I want to build a risk management tool, basically an assistant to aid organizations to make better decisions and include the AI perspective from a risk management perspective to make sure. So I know what I want to do, and my background is really technology and product. So I care very much about the user experience and simplicity and just using the right tools. And I do believe that the future of technology is that you don't actually have, everybody has access to their own programmer in the form of AI. So I'm exploring all the tools, what's available, and how can you integrate the different ones. And I know there are, like, if you subscribe to, there's an AI for that. It's overwhelming the amount of AIs out there. So yes, I know all the tools are there, and I'm hoping to learn how to just connect it. So I don't know if that's answering how I'm going to use it, because I'm exploring. I want to see what I can do and what's available.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's, really our goal is to make Chip easy. Like when we talk to people why they like it, it's because it's easy to use. So give us feedback on how to make that happen. We're actually updating our onboarding soon, where if you're sharing a Chip chat with somebody else, they're able to easily use it without seeing all of the builder functions. So thinking about, you might have others who want to get information without all the technical details. So one thing that Ricardo mentioned was we do have a hackathon going on. So this is a virtual hackathon.
Yeah, that's actually why I joined.
Oh, great. Awesome. So the hackathon is going on right now for the next, this week is the end of it. So if you want to be entered for cash prizes, try to submit by Friday. We'll be sending it to our judges on Saturday. And we're going to have prizes for based on ease, impact, and creativity. And the goal is really building them for businesses, which could include organizations like we talked about. Ricardo's building one for schools. But the link I just put in the chat is where you can submit your entries, and you can submit as many as you like. They can be as detailed or advanced as you want. So you can use something like custom capabilities, but you don't have to, right? So this is just a chance for us to showcase some of the ideas. So we've had a lot of other people join. If you don't mind, in the chat, tell us where you're logging in from, and I'm going to kick it over to Serge to start showing off this feature. But I would love to have Florian and Dominic and Megan and others share how you're thinking about using custom capabilities, because we can kind of show the demo in a way that fits what you're thinking about. So I'm going to introduce Serge, who's heading up our growth strategy and does a lot of work with community and our chip chapters around the world. And he's going to showcase kind of where we're at with custom capabilities and the API access. So take it away, Serge.
Nice one. Hey guys, lovely to see you all in the room, and yeah, excited to share this awesome new functionality with you. What we're basically allowing you guys to do now is to be able to call any API from within the chat interface itself. So this is slightly different to triggering it with webhooks via Zapier, and it's also not just like sequential workflow builder type behavior that you're used to seeing with Zapier and these workflow builders. This is you being able to say something from chat and call any API that you want and get a response from that API. So I'll walk you through a little bit of it. A simple use case. I really wanted to know how, if we could send the text message from Chip back to Chip. And this is quite fun because some people have been asking this. Can we just daisy chain different Chip assistants to each other and create complex workflows? So that's the example I'm going to be walking through, and then we'll open up for some space at the end to kind of discuss different use cases that you guys are looking at and see what we can do there. I know some of you have already tried it, so please share some of your wisdom in the chat on the side. And also bear in mind, we're still ironing out a few little bugs here before we get this to all of you. So yeah, if you see something that looks a little bit out of the ordinary, let us know.
Today, right, Serge? It's now there, so people can go. Yeah, you can go use it, and definitely send us your bug reports, because it's just literally pushed it live for the webinar. So we'll love your feedback.
Cool. All right, so just to make this like to highlight the use case, I had a funny little use case: Kamala Harris bot and Donald Trump bot. These are two assistants. One is like Kamala Harris, and one is like Donald Trump. I just wanted to get these two to talk so that they could have a good faith political discussion and and see how that went. So you can see that they've given some custom knowledge. So Donald Trump bot has some Trump quotes, and the Kamala Harris bot has some quotes of Kamala Harris. So they've got sort of some knowledge that they're trained on for how they speak and how they interact. So to find your new custom capabilities, you're going to have to go to the capabilities tab under here. And you can see all of our old capabilities that we do out of the box, like browsing the web, image recognition, all that good stuff. But now we're giving you guys the ability to add your own. So I've pre-configured a new capability, but if you want to add your own, you can click the new custom capability. And inside, I have to set up a post request to the Chip API, which is at api.chip.ai/chat. So if you want to send Chip to Chip, you do this. But if you want to send it to get information from somewhere or post information somewhere, you can get information from a weather API, or get financial markets data from a financial markets API, or write something to the Notion API or Airtable. You can do those kinds of things as well. So you just change that URL up here based on.
Can you zoom in a little, Serge? Maybe hide your sidebar.
Yeah.
We can see.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do that.
There, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Cool. Is that a bit better? Awesome.
Yeah, maybe even go like 120 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. 120. Nice. Awesome. So there's a couple of things different going on here. There's configure on the right, but what's kind of unique to chat interfaces and Chip is that instead of triggering these things off of like when a certain thing happens in the app, which we'll be building later, the new thing that you can do with AI is basically like describe when this custom capability is going to be triggered in the chat conversation. So you actually need to be very specific, because this is what the LLM is looking at to call capability. So,
and just to jump in, this would be the equivalent of when you say create me an image about X, right? That's going to actually tell the AI tool to call DALL-E, in our case, to make the image, right? Or if you say,
Exactly.
tell me more about chip.ai, that's telling the AI tool to go browse the web, right? So this is kind of the same thing, where it's going to pick what to do based on the description. But you have to give I would say the description is probably the most important part, and maybe the most out of the box part, because that's going to be what triggers it.
Exactly, yeah. So you need to give as much context as you can in this description, and don't glaze over it, because this is the most important part. And if you have any issues with it not calling your custom capability, it's because of the description. Awesome. So this is a really simple custom capability. It's called Talk to Trump. If any mention of Trump, Donald Trump, or US politics happens, send a message to the chatbot application. Send this every message. So I'm trying to be very specific. I just want this to trigger all the time. And also if there's any mention of these certain keywords or themes. And then because I've got my URL endpoint here ready, I need to set up a couple of things. And for our API, we need to send over a message list, which is an array. So inside this message list, we're defining the sender type is from a user, and there's also a content block going over. So I can see that and edit here. And we need to, because this is AI generated, we need to be able to give a description of what the kind of thing, what this is, so it's also aware of what it's sending over. So this is just the last message in the chat. So nothing too complicated there. For the more manual fields, I also need to just give it the API key of the Donald Trump bot and also the application ID of the Donald Trump bot. So I'm going to go over to that. And I can find those two things just here. So the application ID is actually in the URL. So it's 11910. And I copied that over. And then also, if you're on our pro accounts, you can get the API key. And I've got the API key of this Donald Trump bot. And I brought that over into our custom capabilities. So that's why that's all set up like that. For your application, it's going to be different. You need to look at the documentation. You need to see what they need you to do, what kind of information and what structure they need it to be in. But that's something you can do. Something I recommend there is also just passing that to Claude and the documentation on that page and saying I'm trying to set this up, send it a screenshot of the chip interface and say, tell me what I need to add in the body parameters. And it should probably give you a pretty clear answer and get you started with that. So go Claude. So let's test that capability, and you can see that hopefully the API message is sent correctly. Loading. Let's work.
And maybe while that's loading, just give a quick update on yeah, there we go.
Perfect. Cool. So we can see that we sent over a successful message. If it failed, it would tell me what the error was. It could give me some hints and say, okay, actually message list is meant to be this structure. We're missing some content from this. So do look in there to debug it. And you see how the content here is tell me about yourself. That's what I defined here. And the content is just a test message. And then I'm getting this response, which is, I'm Donald Trump. I'm a businessman and television personality known for my straightforward speaking style. So it's going over to my other chip app, and then that response is being sent back into this Kamala Harris bot. I'm going to click Update Custom Capability, make sure that's all set up. And then once we're in here, I can say, hi, Donald Trump.
I love that it's a non-American doing this. It's so much safer.
Yeah, exactly. Am I diffusing the situation? I'm glad. This is.
Yeah, so this is calling the tool. One thing we need to add is a description on the tool call graphic. But you can kind of see it.
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I came in a bit late, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're doing. So you're just connecting the API between two chip apps so they can talk to one another, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be any API endpoint. I just wanted to prove the point that
does someone have to be, say I purchase a subscription to the Kamala Harris app, right? Mm-hmm. And it has an API connection to the Donald Trump app. Do I have to be a subscriber to the Donald Trump app as well for that API to work, or will it still call that other app that I'm not a subscriber to?
No, so let's just show you what I just did there. So that's what's really, really powerful about this, right? Great, cool. I think that's Tom. I can hear Tom's voice. Is that I've built this app. Yeah, I've built this app. Let's say I published it to the marketplace and sold it for however much, or I can just share this URL in a incognito window. I'm still going to get all of those capabilities that are connected by the builder. So let's say you made a trading bot that looked at like latest stocks and gave reports on them. Your end user is going to get that capability. So hi, Donald. Tell me about yourself. So yeah, this opens up a whole new possibility, like world of possibilities for you guys in terms of like handing off way more complex apps to your clients and users.
The next step of that I would want to know about, sorry if I'm interrupting, but how many can we chain? In other words, can I chain 2 or 3 chip apps? Could I chain a research app that then uses that, a writer that then uses that as context to write something, and then something takes that writing content and proofreads it for output, as an example? So that's 3 assistants.
So that is for you guys to find out and tell us. And
I will find out today, sir.
And the second part of this is that Hunter has already done some stress testing. We don't recommend that you add like more than 8, somewhere between 8 and 10 different capabilities.
Now I'm excited. I'm excited.
Is actually like it confuses the assistant, right?
That makes sense.
Because you have so many descriptions with very nuanced context. I don't know about the daisy chaining length. Like that seems to be unlimited in my mind, but like in terms of one assistant that can do multiple things, 8 to 10 will start to confuse it.
And so think about like that includes what we have in there, right? So like you have image generation as a tool, web browsing as a tool. So if you're not going to use those, shut them off, right? Yeah. So like in the builder, you can toggle those things off. So then that's how you confuse it. But just think about every one of those toggles is a tool that could be called. And obviously the more you get, the more it could pick the wrong one. And that's why that description is so important. Like it's got to be, you want it to be clear. And I would think about how do you alley-oop or like pass from prompt to action. So if you're going to give this to a user, make the prompt ask a question that they're going to answer that'll trigger the tool, right? So it'd be something like, do you want to learn more about Donald Trump? And then they would say yes, and then it would trigger, or you know, something like that. So it's like
that makes sense.
Use the prompt to really focus in on the description.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, I know that Tom had a question. He had the mic. If you want to jump in, Tom.
So I have 2 questions, and they're kind of connected. One is like the hierarchy action. So obviously you have multiple capabilities, and I don't know under the hood how exactly like web browsing is working. But let's say if you say, hey, ask a question about Donald Trump, how does it actually, if you don't specify specifically, how does it actually choose to go to the API call versus web browsing?
So I maybe you jumped in a bit late, Dom, but I'll show you in the builder. That's what this new part is all about. So there's a semantic description in the definition of the custom capability. What this is technically under the hood, this custom capability, is the idea of, like, if you look at the OpenAI documentation, it's called a tool. So you're just adding more tools, and all of these capabilities are actually already tools that we've predefined for you. So like web browsing, but each of them has a description already that like seems to trigger it as reliably as it can. So
that was my point about like the hierarchy of tools or the hierarchy of actions. So I need to say, hey, use this API call first, and if there's some error, now fall back to web browsing.
Yeah, like so fallback and chaining, I'm not sure if I haven't tested that yet, but like in terms of like the way that it's being decided which tool to call, it's just semantic and vector based, like matchmaking between the text that's sent in and the text that's in the description of the tool. So does that make sense? Like
that makes sense.
You have to be specific on like when to call it. Maybe you can set up a hierarchy between the descriptions. I haven't tried that yet.
And is I don't know if in the queries or something from Chit's perspective, do you know which tool it calls at what point? So using, I don't know, a PDF I've given it versus its own knowledge base versus an API call, do you actually know which one it's using?
We do, and that's like the next thing that we want to reveal to you, because right now it's just a loading bar, but we need to be able to show you like, oh, this tool is being invoked right now, so you can at least debug it and be like, oh, it shouldn't be calling that tool. So yeah, there'll be some text next to the loading bar basically to say, yeah, the right tool has been triggered. We do know under the hood, yeah.
Just looking at Stanley's comment, air handling. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, the API is all our API, so it wouldn't be handled on the API level. One thing you could do is on the message you get back from the tool you call, you could have certain words in it, and then on the chat log, you'd be able to see, you know, which tool is called. Like you could just look at the chat log and see it. Most of the time, you'd be able to tell that way. But yeah, well, probably something we need feedback on, Stanley. So I would just say, like, let us know what you need. So then, Serge, maybe tell us a little bit about this versus the API, because I think for people who are diving in,
yeah,
important distinction, and maybe helps decide what path to take, because custom actions or custom capabilities won't be the right path for everybody, obviously.
Yeah. So there is some overlap here between the concepts, and we've seen a couple of people get a little bit confused with that. So I'm just going to try and like highlight the difference here. So what I did there was define a tool that was used in the chat, and I sent a message to trigger the tool. So this is what we're calling custom capabilities. It did leverage something which we released earlier called an API key. So you need API keys to be able to, like, for two apps to shake hands and say like, okay, you're safe and you're this, you're the correct app that I should be speaking to. So API keys don't need to be used in this way only. One way we're seeing everyone use API keys is more for the workflow builder stuff that you're familiar with in Zapier and the rest of it, Zapier and Make. So if we go to like how to connect Chip to WhatsApp on YouTube, we've had some people in the community, Felipe, I think, built this, where he's using an API key in Make to be able to send something from WhatsApp. So this is actually a trigger from a completely different app, right? Is then sending its content over to Chip via this node in the workflow, and then it's sending it back into WhatsApp. So to do this kind of stuff, this is a different thing. You need to use the API key to make sure that you correctly identify that this is a Chip app in the middle. So that's the difference between API keys and custom capabilities. The main thing to think about is custom capabilities are generally being called from within the chat interface using natural language, whereas API keys are for general use in workflow builders.
Yeah, Nick said asked to send that video for sure. I'll grab that link, and that's also in the documentation. So we're trying to do a better job, maybe you've seen, of updating our documentation and also keeping track of what we're changing, because there's a lot going on. We're trying to ship quickly, but we do have a change log that I'm keeping up to date. So I'm going to send a link to the change log, and then also we can grab a link to that video. So you can always find the most recent updates in our changelog here. And then we also put it in the changelog channel in Discord. So if anybody isn't in Discord, we definitely recommend you join there. We have a great active community, and that's where people are sharing videos like this. And we actually have a bounty board. Maybe you can speak to that real quick, Serge, because that's going to be kind of the next step for us increasing our development velocity. And I think the people on this call are probably very high likely bounty hunters.
Sure, yeah. That's so we had this bounty program that was in beta, and we were just putting a sort of small bounty fee, bounty prize, like $50 at the end of creating some content. We're basically flooding with cool ideas of like how you could connect Chip to various other apps, and we think it's really powerful that actually you guys and Dom, I could see a question. We'll get to it. That you guys are actually building the content. Like, we want to be a platform for you guys to create content that you share with your folks to build your credibility in the AI space. Because Scott and I can't build all the content, and we'd love to see your voices, your use cases coming through, and then using our network to distribute that message. So bounties have become like mainly a content-focused bounty program. So we'll find some idea, like connect Chip to Slack. We've seen a really awesome piece of content created about that. But we might even extend to like actual code level bounties, whether that's making our integration for Make, which Felipe did. So Felipe built our Make integration with Chip just as like a freelance project. He might build our Zapier Make integration, but there could be other code level bounties that we do together, and have more of you guys build with us.
Yep. So we have a bounties channel in Discord. You can check there. And before we head over to Dominic, I also wanted to highlight we have a new event tomorrow already, because it got scheduled kind of last minute, but we wanted to take them up on it. So we actually are doing a workshop tomorrow on how to integrate with Softr, and we have one of the Softr employees who's going to be leading that. So Softr is a no-code platform, allows you to build websites and software tools. And so that link, I don't know why I didn't preview it, but if you go here, this is the Softr registration, and he has to do it at the end of the workday. So it's at 5 p.m. Eastern. So I know that's a rough time for our European and South African friends, but if you're able to join, would love to have you there. And Paul Ford is his name. He'll be showing how he integrates Chip. He actually put out some social content, which is how we found him, just doing it. And so we wanted to reach out, and he said he'd do it on a workshop for us. So cool. I can't wait. Yeah, Aaron, the subscriber feature is pretty cool. I know that Erwin was also building with that, where people could essentially pay for access to Chip via the software subscription stuff. So that'll be great. So what we showed you today, currently the custom capabilities is free for everyone, mostly because we didn't have time to put it behind a paywall. So go use it, go crazy. At some point, that'll be a pro feature. And the API functionality that Serge mentioned with Make and WhatsApp is a pro feature as well. So go nuts with it right now. And definitely let us know about bugs, because it's very fresh. So we are guessing there are some. This will know. Cool. So how about your question, Dominic? And then we'll kind of hit any other questions in the chat.
So Serge, with your use case, with the two assistants debating each other, wouldn't that create a continuous loop? Or is it just like a send a message, receive the response back, and it ends there?
Yeah, it hasn't
looping.
It's not triggering every time a message is sent in the chat thread. It's triggering every time a message is sent from the human speaking. So I'm speaking as Kamala Harris, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but ideally, that was the intention, was to have two autonomous chatbots just kind of in a loop speaking to each other and monitor the situation.
Well, I think you could do that if you just had it trigger on the word Trump or on a word that was used frequently in both messages, then it would continually trigger in that cycle. Or couldn't you just write the description to say every time you get a message from this assistant, you are to respond?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that work?
Yeah, I'm trying.
From the command line, right, you can just kill the process. But in Chip, how would you just kill that process?
You could close the app.
Close the app, yeah. It's going to shut down. But I haven't got it to trigger yet on every message that comes in. It seems.
I think you just directly ask it to, and I think it would. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Well, let's.
Can I jump in?
Because I built mine. The one that I built triggers whenever a user inputs a URL, and it's working.
Fair.
And I've got it connected to. I put it in the chat, but if anyone's interested, there's a platform called Superface, and it has Google Maps, some API tools, some web scrapers, and it's free to sign up. And basically, you can take all of these different tools, sign up with your accounts, and then you can use one API key to connect all of the tools to Chip. And I've done that already with one of my apps.
Somebody wanted to jump in, I heard it.
Ricardo.
Was about, so you can I'm sorry.
Go for it, Ricardo.
Sorry. Yeah, I was jumping in on the question from Tom, because I think why it's not working right now is that the message that gets sent back after the trigger is just an assistant role message, and the capability is only on a user message.
That makes sense.
As far as I've seen with the tests I've run.
That makes sense, Ricardo. Yeah, as a user.
Because I wanted to try it. because I wanted to try it, and then I thought to be smart and just add an API layer in between, and then have the API prompt back with the response, and then it works if you send the response back as a user message, but not if you have it just respond back as a assistant role.
That makes sense. Well, if anyone gets that working, I'd love to make some content around it. I would love to see 2 chatbots just going for it. And yeah.
Yeah, as we dive deeper, just a quick call out that hackathon is going on. So if you just joined us late, you can register for that. Try to enter by Friday so that we can get the best picks to our judges, and then we'll award it on Monday. And we also have a workshop tomorrow on Chip and Softer, hosted by Softer. So I'll put that link in the chat, and then we can take some more questions. If you're just joining us, like, we'll send this recording out, but we basically just showcased custom capabilities, the ability to call other apps. So, yeah.
Cool. Maybe we can also, do you want to spend some time hacking through anyone's use case, Scott? So what are you guys trying to think of building? Any ideas in the room? I know Tom's got a few.
Yeah, I can show you one that I've got working, but I'd love some feedback on if you want me to.
Sure. Let's do it.
Sound good?
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is my
Do you want to screen share?
yeah. So this is my my whatchamacallit. It's my sales battle card generator. So what this does is you put in a URL and it gives you basic details on the company, any recent news, top 4 use cases, industry landscape, and a couple other things. So I wanted
Screen's not sharing. You're just sharing like your preview page.
Oh, my bad. Let me switch that. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, there we go. So that's what this one does. And then what I connected to it was I have a free plan on this platform that I recommend folks try out and connect to. It's called Superface. And basically what it lets you do with one API is you can go into their tool list and you can set up all these different tools. And you can do it just by logging into your Google account. You don't have to do anything with APIs. So all these tools right here, I've got connected right now. I'm going to want to use this one, this scraping one. So I'm going to grab the find company name. And then if I go back to my hub here, if it'll open. Okay, you'll see that you've got a schema here. You've got a URL you can copy. And then if I go back to Chip and go into my sales battle card here, I was just updating it. So now I'm having it, normally the research process is to use Chip's web search and URL retrieval. So now I'm having it do complementary web search using find company. Using find company, using the find company capability. Okay, and then inside here, I've got the, and I hope I set this up right. I tried to copy the documentation you guys provided. So the sender is the user. And then right here, I just have it set to whenever the user provides a company's website URL, you must also use the find company tool to find additional resources. And then if I do test, and this is similar to like Apollo.io or like a ZoomInfo, it's a business database. So you can see here, it's pulling all these different, these different queries, it looks like to me. But then when you run it, create me a sales battle card, give me the URL. I guess we could just do Chip. It should. So is there a way to tell if it's calling the API or not?
Like that's the loading. Yeah, we need to show the name of the custom capability. That's what we'll be adding. But it looks like, thanks for providing the URL.
So I think it called it, yeah.
Yeah. Please hold on a moment while I gather the necessary information.
Yeah, so one thing is after I implemented this add-on or this custom capability is I noticed it did take a little bit longer to output. See, now it's not doing, so I used to have an issue where it would dump a giant block of text, which was kind of the raw output from the API, from the search. And then it would, after that raw block of text, it would show me this, which is what I wanted to see. This is the formatted text. Apparently it stopped doing that. So I don't know if I had made a mistake or what. But if
We've been updating it quite a bit. So it's probably...
so here's an example. See, here's an example of what it was doing before. See the big block of text? And then I got the report.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that big block of text that I was trying to figure out why it's doing that. And then in the one we just ran, no block of text. So maybe that was something you guys had. I'm not sure. But I highly recommend people check out Superface and Gapier, just because if you're not like an API expert or you're not an expert at Zapier or things like that, these tools make it super simple to connect your Google accounts and stuff like that just by signing in. And then they give you an API key that you can use to make custom GPTs, now to use on Chip apps with this new feature. So it's just kind of like a shortcut that gives you all of these different actions. And you can see here they have actions like read web page, do a Google search, generate a mind map, generate a chart, generate top news,
nice,
all that type of stuff. So those are the two services I've been using so far to build integrations, because it's just a lot more straightforward. Kind of, it worked right away. So
and Tom, if you created Chip Chat with that and someone duplicates it, they would have to go get their own API key still, right?
They would have to go. Well, that was my other question for you guys. So if I create a custom GPT with this and someone uses it, it calls the API and they just have to hit confirm. They don't have to go make a separate account.
Exactly.
Does it work the same way on Chip or not?
Yeah, I think that's everything over.
Yeah, like that's going to keep that's going to hit your API key that you left in the custom capability. So you'll be
it's going to charge. So I monitor my usage. I'm okay with that right now.
Right.
But in other words, at least from my testing, like when I go to an incognito window and use it, it still works just fine. Like the person doesn't have to go sign up for their own. Now, if you did a template, you might have to.
I think that's the place to be careful, right? Because if you built a template, it would copy everything, including your API key.
Okay, so I would probably take this out if I did a template, and I would probably put it in the description. Like, hey, I recommend you go to Superface and sign up and something like that. That's what I would be thinking. But any other questions on what I showed?
That was really cool.
That's really dope. Like, I mean, we'll try and we've been aiming to bring in like some more native integrations, but I think this is really great for people who just want a bunch of stuff out of the box. So
these tools are great, and there's a few more, but like being able to add like Google Maps or just like Google Drive just in a second, it's so easy. So I recommend you guys look into Superface and Gapier. Those are the two that I've used for custom GPTs, and they seem to work flawlessly on Chip.
Cool.
So
awesome,
my question for you would be probably a little bit more technical.
That's fine.
Let's take I don't know, Airtable, and I have connected it to Airtable, but I haven't connected it to a specific table.
Okay.
How does it know what table to query? Does it look through all of them, or does it get the data from all of them, or like how does that work?
So I've used Airtable, and to my understanding, each table or each, how Airtable has what are called bases, and that's like your base. I think each base has an identifier ID or something like that, that you might want to include. That's my initial thought, but I'm not 100% sure.
That from a natural language standpoint, let's say if I have users and I don't know, I have lesson, the classes, and I had
call it out by name in the prompt. Just call out the base that you want to use in Airtable. Call it out verbatim by name and see if the prompt will trigger. It might.
You'll have a different capability for each different base, right, Dom? So you can say like, hey, call this one every time that students is mentioned, and it will have that base's ID in that capability. Even you just make a separate capability for calling a different base.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. And then let's say if I want it to connect the users table to the classes table, I say, hey, use these two bases to do something like that.
When you say connect, what do you mean? Like,
because a lot of tables are like you have linked data. So,
Oh, what you want it to write to another
or read.
or read? Yeah. So yeah, if you wanted to read, you'd use a get request and to define the base's ID and like say like when I ask you about this base, then return this information. But are you talking about like an interbase like action or what? Yeah, I don't know how you would probably do that. Like I don't like it probably makes more sense to be like to maybe do that on the Airtable side where they've got the workflow builder or something.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I would do it on the Airtable side. I don't think you're going to be able to do it between bases using one, because whatever base you connect to that capability, that's going to be the connection. Now, like Serge said, on the Airtable side is where you can take that a couple steps further with their workflow automations.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you could probably trigger a new row, like you could do a post to a base, and then that would trigger a more nuanced workflow in Airtable.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So it sounds like anytime. So when we think about like autonomous agents, and there are open source libraries that can do this, it's doing lots of different API calls itself. But it sounds like most platforms right now, you're making like with capabilities, you're making a API call is getting data, bringing it back, rather than getting data, say, hey, I need this from this other place. Let me go here too. Is that right in saying?
Yeah, I think the step between assistants and agents is really having the idea of like of having a step-by-step plan of attack that the agent is trying to achieve, and we haven't got that notion in Chip yet. So like when you say, oh, there's kind of like a meta step before it runs multiple tools, which is, hey, I want you to do this task, plan for me in a step-by-step way, like a sub list of tasks that you would do to achieve this. Now go and execute it. So once we get that kind of behavior, then you'll start seeing assistants become agents, but we're not there yet.
That's perfect. You helped me get my head around that.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. It's coming soon. Like this is the future. GPT-5 onwards will be agents. Yeah.
And I would just add, like what Tom just showed is a perfect example of what you could enter in the hackathon, and then also what we want to help you promote. So, kind of moving forward, I think what we're seeing is a huge need for use cases people can easily pick up, right? So like Tom might create this and either charge people or allow them to duplicate it or sell it as a standalone product. And I think at Chip, we're thinking the same thing. It's like, how do we find the best things you've built and then actually build landing pages around it, right? So it can be like, Chip is a business battle card maker, right? And like it's a button that goes to Tom's assistant and they immediately use it and start buying credits and things like that. So Serge can maybe highlight, Steed was on here briefly, but then he jumped off.
Oh, Steed gone. Yeah, Steed's Wi-Fi is in and out, but maybe you'll see it on the recording. It's like, I think this is so such a great example of what I love seeing.
Oh, this is great. I saw this today. This is awesome.
Yeah. So this is like, you guys know your niche, and if you can speak to the niche on it, a very specific landing page, and then load it up with the use cases, like Scott's been saying, we build out those complex tools for them just to copy and use. Steed from Togo has managed to build this future-ready business suite. So it's kind of like the core 5 apps you're going to need as a business trying to grapple with AI. It's customer support, sales lead qualifiers, project management, market research analysts, and then brainstorming and innovation. So that's just so, I just found this and shared it with me, and it was such a powerful, like, I know what you need, here, go use them type landing page. So the more you guys can, there's Steed. Steed, do you want to come off mic and talk about your use case? We're just talking about how awesome it is.
Hello guys, I'm currently studying with my not yet, but I'm gonna try to speak a bit about the agent. So it's a set of agent I have built. So I think about the most useful agent a business can need at the beginning to start using AI, and I based on some idea and I found out maybe these 5 agents can be complement each other, and maybe businesses can would like to start using it at first.
Yeah, so awesome, man. I mean, that's exactly what I love seeing is like you guys know what your customers need better than any of us internally at Chip could figure out. So, you know, keep doing that with those interviews, keep shortcutting closing the gap between the time to value just by building these really powerful use cases. So yeah, great job, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? I know you were kind of new, so anything that you have questions about, I think you're a great canary in the coal mine for us here if anything doesn't work. And then we'll hit Florian after that. Yeah.
So it's my turn now.
I think Kate's going to jump in. She just went off mute. So we'll see if she has any questions, and we'll go over to Florian. Yeah. That's all right.
Okay.
If you have any questions, Kate, we don't hear anything, but you can put it in the chat. So we'll jump over to Florian, and then, you know, Megan or Biggie, if you have any questions, we can hit you guys next too. So yeah, Florian, hit us.
Okay, what I'm kind of missing is like this personalization, and I was about to write you an email about asking like, how can I personalize this for my user? So someone signs in with their email, buys some credits, and leaves some information and says, I'm working with this company. This is my company profile. And next time they log in, they kind of start from the beginning, or they work in the chat window they did before. So now you're coming up with that idea about API. And is there a possibility to save this information with in our company, in our environment by an API call and retrieve it again? So the only thing we would need is the email address or a user ID, so that this user ID posted that information, like her first name, and we save it in our database. And next time that user logs in again with the same email in the bot, it will retrieve that information and base its answer on that.
That's an awesome question, and yeah, it's super necessary. Like we don't have the capability to do that yet, and I liked where you went with trying to solve it by using the API, the custom capabilities. I wonder if you can do that. If you do manage to do that, you know, say like, oh, please tell me your email, and then retrieve the personalized documents. That would be awesome. But we should be building that on our side. It's the idea of like a persona, or like the personalized documents that you want per user. This is something that we hope to bring in soon.
But is there the possibility at the moment to use such field in the API call, like username, user ID, that they actually use in Chip?
So one thing that you can do is you can probably hack around it with our. Have you seen our lead gen capability?
No, I'm quite new. I'm just digging into it.
Okay, I'll show you here. So in the app, we have the ability to collect lead information in the. Here it is. Chat logs. No, I want to turn on the new goal. So if you say new goal and say collect contact details, you can actually push their contact details to a Google Sheet if you want to connect that to Google Sheet, and then you can run automations off of that. I'm not going to do that right now, but then you can add, you know, first name and email or whatever fields you need, and this is going to appear in the chat as the first thing every time they come into the chat conversation.
First time. If they fill it out once and they don't clear their cookies, it'll know that they're back. They don't have to fill it out again. Yeah.
So you could use that to kind of work around it and notice that. Or we also do user authentication. So you can use the signed in users' details, perhaps to, we'd have to hack it. But
well, that would be enough. Just if I have their email address, that would be fine, because then I could actually connect it to the system where they've already been signed in with us and connect the information.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, let's work together on it. If you're in our Discord, I'd love to see how we can build that out.
Okay. And giving feedback on how you want, you know, it's kind of a concept of memory. We've been really trying different versions around, and I could see that being a little bit similar to what you're talking about. So your feedback's really great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Megan or Biggie, anyone else have questions, want to jump in? Love to hear from everybody. So Chris, I saw you in the chat, so cool. No pressure, but we'll post this on our Substack, and so you can go back and watch the video or share it. And we're going to, like I said, meet with Softer tomorrow, And then Tom, do you want to promote your Thursday session? You got one.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm doing a session on a workshop on SEO and building chip apps. So I would love anyone who is an SEO expert, which, you know, I'm not a complete SEO expert, to come in. And in the later half of the workshop, I want to potentially try and build a more comprehensive version or a more capable version of my auditor. So I'm going to walk through how I built my auditor using just prompt language and nothing else, no APIs, no nothing. And then we'll talk about how we can take it to the next level with some of these additional capabilities. So yeah, just go to Chip's event page and register. That's
right. I put the link in the chat, and I did see that. I forget his name, out of Denver, who you talked with, who does SEO.
Oh, what was his name? Carl or?
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
Chuck.
Chuck Akins. Yeah. He connected SEMrush, I think. With
I saw that. It's so powerful.
Yeah. He talked to me about that. So I was asking him actually if he wanted to potentially co-host it with me, because he's like a real SEO expert. So if you guys are okay with that, I may connect with him and have him kind of do some of the technical stuff, and then I'll talk more about the prompt engineering side of things. But connecting
into SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever is
awesome. It's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, so fun to have all you here. Anything you want to add, Serge, before we jump off? I just encourage you all to enter. Like, the things you're showing are perfect entries, right?
Yeah, so build for the hackathon.
Don't overthink it with the hackathon. Like, send in your ideas, and it doesn't have to be this technical. It can be as simple as the Donald Trump bot if you want.
Yeah. No, nothing on my side. Just really curious to see what you guys build. I think this unlocks a whole new field of things you can do. So please tell us in Discord if anything's not working, bugs wise, because we want to crush it and have this flowing for this week and the rest of the hackathon. So
yeah, perfect. Well, great to hang out as always. We'll see you either tomorrow with Softer or Thursday with SEO, and Monday is our award show. So jump on and see who wins.
Awesome.
We will see you all then. Take care. Thanks for jumping on.
Bye, guys.